Hello, welcome to the other side. I'm so glad you came back. Here we discuss the trials, triumphs, and everything in between because that's where we believe the magic lies in the in between. I am so excited for my guest today. I tell you, God always sends me the best people to interview. And in one of my events, I met Rachel Rascon. She is a mother, she's the founder of Faith in Power Foundation, and she is also a survivor. So today she has chosen to trust us with her sacred story and share her struggle and her triumph and everything that, she's had to go through to be where she is today and the strength she has today and why she serves the way she does. So, welcome, Rachel. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us
Thank you for
today.
having me here. Thank you.
I'm excited to have you. When I first heard your story, it was like kind of funny because I shared my story and it's fairly newer, so I'm a little more comfortable sharing it
Yes.
because I've been, right? And you sat there for a minute and you were like, I don't really have a story. And then you realized you have quite the story.
True.
I mean, it's just been so long. You did what
Yes.
I did, right? We shove it so deep down, we actually kind of forget it even exists.
Right.
And it affects our life and it affects our choices. And you finally like came to terms with your story
I
and
do have one.
why
Yes.
you're sharing it. And so why don't you share a little bit with our audience?
Well, I don't even know where to
Yeah.
start.
So
Yeah.
let me direct you a little bit because I do like to start
Yeah.
with everybody's childhood, right? How they
Yes.
grew up, because not everybody grew up in a broken home that serves now or had a troubled, teenage year or
Right.
young adulthood. So I don't know if that was your case. At least I do, but they
Hmm.
don't. So I like to start there, how you
Yes.
grew up.
So I actually did grow up with both of my parents in the home. Married. They were married. My parents didn't divorce till I was actually out of the home. I think pretty much all of us were out of the home. It's myself and two brothers. Um,
How old were you when you left home?
when I left home, 17. I think I was 17. Yeah,
Mm.
about 17.
So you were young.
Yes.
You left home at a young age.
Yeah.
What made you leave so young?
I got pregnant.
Oh,
Yes, I was pregnant. Um, I don't know. I guess I thought that was the thing, not the thing to do, but I thought I was gonna be happier.
well, let's
Like,
be real. You're Mexican. I mean, it
yeah,
kind of was a thing to do, right?
right.
You
And
get pregnant. Well, you get married, then you get pregnant.
yes.
But it seems like a lot of
Um,
times.
and not only that, in my eyes, I thought like, you know what, I'm pregnant. Like I'm gonna go live with him. I I grew up with both of my parents in my home. I wanted my kids to, well, at that time it was my first, so to grow up in a home with both parents.
Of course.
Um, but yeah, both of my parents. I lived with both of my parents. My mom always worked. She did like swing shift, graveyard. My dad was a truck driver. Um,
Was he like long haul? Was he gone for
no,
days?
no, no, no.
So he was a local.
Yeah, he was local. Um, but just like any family, right? We had our ups and downs. Right before I got pregnant, my dad and we didn't. I can't remember exactly what happened, but we weren't talking.
Hmm.
And then New Year's came, and then my mom's like, "I'm gonna tell your dad," and I'm like, "Okay." So she told my dad, um, and she told him right the same day he actually started talking to me again,
Mm.
and
Wow,
he,
talk about bad timing.
yeah, like, well, I think we didn't even think that he was gonna talk to me that day, but yeah, it just that's how it happened. He still spoke. We still spoke, and then one day I went to my boyfriend's house and I called and I said, "Mom, I'm not going back home." She's
Mm.
like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "No, I think like I'm gonna stay here. I already talked to his parents. Everything's fine." And no, she cried. Of course, I'm the only
So it's
daughter.
not like you got kicked out for
No.
being pregnant. They accepted it. They were okay, but
Yes.
you decided you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
try and have a family
Right.
the right
I
way.
just figured it was my responsibility to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just said, "Hey, mom, like, I want to tell my dad." Mind you, we were all scared. At least me, I can say for myself. I was always scared of my dad to even say anything to him.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Let me talk to dad. I'll tell him." He was like, "Wait, you want to talk to him?" I said, "Yeah, I'll talk to him." I said, "Hey, dad, I just want to tell you, like, I think I'm not going back home. I'm gonna move in." And he said, "Well, if that's what you want to do." And I said, "Yeah." And things were okay still, but
Mhm.
of course, I don't think he wanted to like talk to him. He didn't want to know nothing about him. Um,
So how old was he? Your
my
so was it a girl or a boy? Your first.
my first one's a boy.
Okay, so your
Yes.
son's dad,
Yeah.
how old was he at the time?
Same age, 17
Okay, so you were both
or a
kids.
year younger, 16, 17 around there. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you were the same age.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's tough.
We're still going to school. I mean,
So you were a
sometimes, right?
senior.
Yes. But then I stopped going. I stopped
Mm.
going.
Okay, so you made the choice
Yes.
to not finish. And you
Yes.
stayed with him how long after?
We had a second one. So I
Okay.
have two from him.
Okay.
Um, and not too long after I had my second one is when we split up.
So how long were you together?
Gosh, let me see. Maybe 3 years. I want to say 3 years,
All right,
four
so a lot
years.
happened in a short amount of time.
Yes.
2 kids, kind
Yes.
of a marriage with his
Yeah.
parents living together.
Yes.
So then what did
But
you
I
do
did
when
have a lot of back and forth, I was
yeah.
young. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
out of here.
Yeah.
Say it. I'm leaving, going back home.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to be there. I'm coming back.
Well, you were a
Yeah.
child raising a
Yeah.
child. You
Yeah.
were 2 children.
Yeah.
That
So
had to be tough actually for you and for your parents, especially because, they wanted to strangle you too. They knew.
I'm sure they did.
But anyways, okay, so when did let's just kind of jump forward. Did you have other kids after that? Did you get into because when did you start having trouble? Like
Um,
with yourself?
using, as far
Yes.
as using, I actually was already using before I got pregnant my first time.
Okay, so you were using in high school.
I was using at a very young age.
What was your drug of choice at that age?
Meth.
Really,
Mhm.
Rachel?
I actually started using at 14.
Meth.
And I only remember that because, um, the Mexican tradition is having a quinceañera. And I
So are you
remember
first, second, third generation Mexican here?
first,
Okay.
yes. Um, I had to do the confirmation. You have to go confess.
Mm-hmm.
It was confession right before my actual quinceañera
Yeah.
day. And I remember telling a few that knew that I was using. I told the priest, "What you know? Like, forgive me, like I'm doing drugs." What? And I'm like, "Yeah."
How many Hail Marys did he make you?
I was scared. I was
I
scared.
always would think that. Like, how
Yeah.
do they know how many Our Fathers and Hail Marys
Well,
he
I
did?
was scared that I get it. You're
That he would tell somebody?
yes, like he's gonna
Yeah.
tell my mom. My mom's gonna find out. I was just more scared of hurting her.
Mm,
She was the one that I was worried about.
interesting.
Um,
And it wasn't her being angry, it was her being disappointed.
yeah, yeah. Because
So
my
you
mom has
obviously knew what you were doing was wrong.
right, right. Because my mom has always made it very clear, good or bad, I'm here for you.
Mm,
So it's just more like I'm hurting her.
yeah.
I'm hurting her, and no matter what, I know she's not gonna like leave me hanging. She's not gonna kick me out. Yeah, she's gonna get upset, but she's not gonna kick me out. Um, so yeah, that's when I was using, but I didn't think I had a problem because it was just doing it when I wanted to hang out. Um,
So your kid's dad too, I'm assuming?
yes, yes,
So you guys were using together.
yes.
Do you think it created a lot of volatility in your relationship? Or was that more age related?
Um,
Now hindsight.
I think probably both. I would say both.
Yeah.
Yeah, both. But after our second, um, we broke up. I was still using. The thing is, it was easy for me because it was free. I didn't have to go spend money and look for money and how am I gonna get like to go get high this weekend. I didn't have to do any of
So,
that.
and it's really funny you would say that because that's why a lot of people don't think they have a problem, right? Because they're not the ones scrounging, looking for money and looking for the
Yep.
drugs. But if you're doing it all the time,
Yep.
you still have a problem.
No, it's true. And just I want to say more in my recent years. I think back really hard. Like going to the groups
Mhm.
makes me think a lot. I'm like, "No, I don't think I did. I didn't go through that." And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I did go through that. I remember um I gave my mom a hard time. There was a time when I was using, so I know I was giving her a hard time, like, I want to do this. And she's like, but your dad's going to get mad. Oh my God, why can't you just like tell him that you give me permission? Or like, I was just acting out, being stubborn with her. But it was the drugs.
Mm.
Definitely the drugs. Um, I would leave, whether she was there with my kids or the kids were with their dad for the weekend. So I'm gone. And yeah, until I had the overdose. My overdose was the last that I ever did any of the drug ever again.
I was just gonna ask you what was the turning point, and that was it,
It
huh?
was the overdose.
So how
Yeah.
did that play out?
Um
So your kids are what, 3 and 2 now?
yeah, I think it was like two. Yeah, because one was born 2000, 2001, and I had it in 2003. The overdose. Um, I don't know. I don't. I don't want. I don't think it was like that. I did too much of it. I think maybe it had something in it. I don't know, because I remember they shared with me like, "Hey, last night you were saying some off the wall stuff." I'm like, "Really?" And I felt different the next day. They call it the come down.
Mm.
So I did feel different, and it just happened that this is time after my mom said I went looking for you because I had this feeling that like, I needed to talk to you. Something was happening.
Isn't it wild, our parents' instincts?
Yes.
Because it's the energy, right?
Yes.
We know. Like, I totally believe that,
Yeah.
and she felt it.
And she went looking for me. Um, I remember I was just like they knocked on the door, and I was just laying on the couch and like I wasn't feeling good. And as soon as they opened the door and I see my mom's face, I was like, "Mom!" And I got up, and then I went out there and I said, "Mom." She's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, within seconds, I'm not even exaggerating. My hands were flopping. I was just like, like just hyperventilating. I don't know what was going on with my body. I said, call an ambulance. She was just like, what? So she's telling them where I was at. Call an ambulance. She said, call an ambulance. And I heard the sirens. I ran out and I told them what happened. Mind you, I ran out there to meet the medics. So my mom didn't get to hear what I was sharing because I thought, oh, maybe I'll be fine and she won't know what I did.
Mm. Oh, you're still trying to hide at this point.
Yes. I was still.
And were you living with your parents at this point?
No, no, or yes, kind of. Yeah, kind of. I was. Um, until I was on the bed in the emergency room, and then I just remember that my mom came in and I would start crying, and the doctor had to like tell like let's go outside. And every time somebody came in and I would start crying, I remember him just pulling them out, and then he finally said, "She can't get." She can't like start crying or get emotional because
Elevated.
yeah. And then my mom was like, well, but why is she like this? And I just remember grabbing my mom's hand. I said, Mom, I'm so sorry. She said, what? And then he's like, you don't know? I said, Mom, I'm sorry. Because my mom was always like blaming herself, right?
Mm.
So then, um,
I think we're good at that.
yeah,
Parent guilt.
he said, she's on drugs. She did drugs. She said, what? But because the doctor had already said, like, we're going to have to step outside. We need to cry. We need a moment. Like, we have to go outside. So my mom held it pretty good. And then I just remember, like, the doctor just kind of sharing, like, if you want to start calling family. And I said, oh, man.
Were you conscious?
Little bits and pieces I remember. I just remember that. I remember seeing my brothers, an aunt. And then I just remember one of the staffs there in the emergency room said he gave me a nice talk, like you're gonna be fine, you're smarter, like a really good conversation where I actually like felt it. And he said, "Do you mind if we say a prayer?" And I said, "Yeah." After that, I don't remember. I woke up. It was the next day, and I was home.
Wow.
Yeah,
So did you think you were going to die for a minute?
yeah, yeah. I was like, "Wow, 2 kids, I'm leaving them."
So was that the catalyst, like to
Yes.
quit, obviously, but the
Hmm.
idea of your children?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they have kids and they still can't stop.
Yeah.
They
Well, I also
just,
lost both of my jobs. I was working 2 different jobs, and I think I was going to school, so I lost both jobs because I couldn't function for a while. I had like panic attacks every single day. At that time, I didn't know what they were. Right? I
yeah,
just thought, "Oh my god, like I'm dying. I'm feeling the same how I was feeling the day I had the
yeah.
overdose." And I would go in, and they would question me like, "What did you do some again?" And I'm like, "I promise no." So they were drug testing me, and there was nothing, but it was like, this is not something I want to feel.
And how long have you been sober now?
So that was in 2003, May
Wow.
2003. So since then,
Did you go to AA? Did you get help? Did you just,
no.
do you think it was because you were so young? You were able to make such a quick decision by yourself without needing any help? Like, why do you think you didn't need help to stop?
I mean, I just prayed. I prayed. I remember my grandparents didn't know, but they knew about, I was having panic attacks and stuff like that. So they would help. They would take me to go see, I remember they took me to a different doctor. He's like, like the herbal natural remedy doctor
Mm-hmm.
type. And
Salvador?
no,
Salvador? Is that
Salvador
a
is more
massage?
like the massage. Yeah,
Oh,
no, but I don't know how to explain it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
um, he gave us some, vitamins, and my grandma would pray, and we would go over my grandma's house, and I would just break down crying. But I think again, just knowing now, it was the withdrawals. Hmm.
Ah, okay. Now, we know that like most drug addicts, right? They have it's underlying pain or underlying they're hiding something or they're
Hmm.
trying to mask a pain or trouble. Have you nailed that down? Do you feel like that was yours or you just were a young kid experimenting and ended up kind of just getting caught up?
I think because I was young, I wanted to try it. I want to say my childhood wasn't like we weren't getting beat, we weren't nothing like that, right? But um, you know, my mom was always working. She did the best that she can.
Yeah.
My dad had a good job before being a trucker, but he used to like to drink a lot.
Okay.
So, he lost his job. Um, there's little bits and pieces that I remember, like he would drink and come he would drink outside, like in the garage. So he would come in like super late. Um, and then sometimes he wouldn't get up for work. And I only remember that because my mom would go to work. And I remember my little brother till this day, he would be so picky about what he's wearing.
To
And I'm like,
school.
yes, like mom left these pants or whatever. I'm not wearing that. And I'm like, but mom left them. Like, I'm not wearing that. And so I was scared of my dad, like my dad's gonna get mad or something, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tell dad that my stomach hurts, okay? And he's like, okay. So I go tell him, like, Dad, my stomach hurts. I'm like, okay, just go lay down, okay? And I'm like, okay, let's go. Because I didn't want my dad to get mad, and I didn't know what to give him. My brother
So
was
you
so
would stay
picky.
home.
No, so we would stay home.
Oh, he wouldn't just pick something else to wear to school.
My brother, no.
You're like,
My
"Yeah, we were
brother,
able to
no.
stay home." So
And he
so
knows he knows it too. It was like, back then you used to use the patches
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when they would rip or
Yeah.
whatever. So my mom used to patch them up, and I'm not gonna wear that. I'm like, but come on, like, no. I mean, even as we
So
got a
do you
little older, I remember even having to call my grandparents. Like, he doesn't want to listen because both of if my dad went to work, it was like,
Yeah.
"He doesn't wanna put on the clothes," and I remember my grandpa getting there like, "You're not gonna put on those pants, you're not gonna hurry," and he would, like, scare him pulling out the belt and, "Okay, okay, okay." I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
So maybe just a little lack of attention, huh?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah.
said, like, after, then you spend a lot more time with your grandparents,
Yeah,
your parents, and be a little more family bonding.
yes.
And it's
I mean,
important.
my mom was always there. Like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, she was always working, but if she
Look, they
wasn't
do the
working, she
best they
was
can,
always there
right?
for
But,
me.
like,
Yeah,
for us, we
yeah.
had dinner together as a
Mhm.
family every day.
Yeah,
Like, that was my
yeah.
childhood. Not that, it
Right.
saved us from trouble because, my
Yeah,
dad cheated when I was
yeah.
18. So after 25 years, so, you could still be like a great family and
Right.
end up in trouble,
And I mean, I'm sure, of course, my parents had their own
Yeah.
marriage problems or whatever, but um, yeah, my mom was just always, she still is, she's a sweetheart.
So what are you trying to do different that your parents didn't for your kids now? Because you have
Um,
5,
yeah,
right?
I do. I have 5. Um, I want to actually be present. Even when my kids were younger and me already not using,
Mhm.
I thought I was like, I'm good. I'm doing things different. I'm working. I'm home with my kids. I'm here. No, this is like years later. No, I haven't actually been present.
Mm.
I remember one of my daughters had said, "Did you even know that when I was, I believe she said junior high, I was doing cross country or something like that?" And I'm like, "No."
Which means you never went to a game or a meet, I mean,
Like
because
certain
this
things
yeah,
like that. And I
yeah,
thought, I mean, not a perfect parent, but I thought I'm like the greatest freaking mother. Like
yes.
I'm here. My work is just down the street. I'm able to switch my days. I'm able to attend certain things. Like I'm doing good. No, no.
So what would your advice be like for parents? Do you think, well, obviously, right? Check in with your kids more. Ask them questions. What
Yes.
events do you have coming up?
Yes.
Where
Definitely. My little one, when I pick her up right away, she's like, "Can I tell you about my day?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course." I didn't do that with my other kids.
Mm.
I know because it's things that they would tell me, but I've never took the time to, "How was your day, baby? Like, what did you learn? Why were you bored?" I never took the time to do that, any of that.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes, like, when my kid's like, "Oh, how was work?" "Okay, work." Or, "How was this?" And I'm like, okay, tell me more." But they're like, "Why are you asking questions?" So I'm like, "Oh, okay." But because,
It's funny, we train them that way, huh?
yes,
And then when we
yes,
want more, we're not gonna get
yes,
it. They remember.
yeah,
My son the same. I wasn't very present. I feel horrible. But when you're in like survival mode and you're just trying to pay bills and work, it's hard to have the patience to feel present because you're in survival mode, not realizing that we get so much energy from being present
yeah,
with them. We feed off of their life and their excitement and their
yeah.
joy and
Well, I
but
just thought like I'm doing a lot better than like I didn't get this while I was growing up, but I'm doing it for my
yeah,
kids, right?
well,
So I
that's all
thought like
we
I'm
we only
good.
know what we know. I
I'm
mean,
not using it anymore. I'm good. And it was
yeah,
like that's not the way it works.
yeah. So you guys have honest conversations now.
With my kids?
Yeah.
Oh yes. We're open. Um Transparent as much as possible.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a little too much, but
Yeah, yeah, that's how I feel with my son.
oh
I'm
my
like, I
god.
didn't need to know all that, but okay,
Yes,
I'd rather know than not.
right? Yes. Um but I mean I can't sit here and say, "Oh, they tell me everything."
Yeah.
But for the most part, they do. They do share a
Yeah.
lot.
So what was the catalyst for you starting the foundation? How did that come about?
Just thinking back of how I felt stuck for a while, even though I wasn't using, um, what I needed or the motivation or resources and stuff, that was my number one. But then I started working in the mental health field for a few years and just kind of seeing
The need?
the need is what pushed me.
Yeah.
One client on top of my head that I think of her all the time. Man, she's the one where I was like, hey, I'm gonna do this.
So what is it you exactly do at
We
Faith and Power?
we create opportunity for individuals and families by empowering each other.
Okay, and you
So resources, workshops.
nice. Do you do the workshops yourself? Do you have connect with other foundations? I know I do that a lot with my foundation, more connection as
Yes,
opposed to.
we do. We do. We do connect with others. We will be having a workshop that's just faith and power, resume building.
Oh, good.
So once I have a date, then I can share that information.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's only going to be us. Yes, but I
Nice.
have partnered up with others.
Yeah. That's what I've done, but now that I'm coaching, I'm going to have my own workshop because I have
Yeah. Oh,
to.
yeah.
That's
You
why we do
should.
it,
You should. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So what else do you do for the community? Because I know you hand out clothes, you make collections. If anybody wants to help, how can they get in contact with you?
So we do right now we're trying to get into a few facilities where I know there's children. And we do have some boxes, gently used clothes. And so what we're trying to do is set up a day where we can go and sort all the clothing out, whether it's by sizes, whatever it is that we can
Mhm.
get. So we can have those families come in and pick
I
whatever
can
they
help
need.
you.
Yeah.
I'm very
Oh,
close with the
okay.
Union Rescue Mission and their house, Angela's house. They have a lot of children
Oh,
and a lot of
good.
families.
Yes,
Yeah.
nice. I'm
So,
waiting to hear back from the Salvation Army. You know,
mhm.
the women's shelter. I think it's the
Yeah.
women's shelter right there
There's
by my
so
house.
many places.
Mm-hmm.
There really are so many places that can use it.
Yes.
And I like the idea of there is a foundation. I know they put them all in racks and make them look like a store so you actually
Yes.
feel like they're
Yep.
shopping,
Yes.
which
So
I thought was a
that would
great
be
idea.
nice. That would be really nice. So we're just waiting back to hear from them to do to start setting up. I know there's one church that actually got a reached out a couple weeks ago, and I'm waiting to hear back from them to see if we can either have a booth there.
Mhm.
They're gonna have a resource day, or help actually put the event together.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
So like we think alike.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that's why we met,
I know.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is the legacy that you'd like to leave your children?
Um, I just want my kids to want them to be humble. I want them to know that I'm not saying they had a way better childhood than I did because we went through some stuff as well, but just because you didn't face certain challenges doesn't mean that others are not facing it.
Mhm.
Just be caring, be able to guide others, share a
Mhm.
little bit of information that you may have, a little bit of the knowledge that you've may gain, share it with others.
Even just a smile, right?
Yes.
Being
Be kind.
kind.
Yes.
Because a lot of people just they prejudge. It's really funny. I was doing an open house this past weekend and I'm
Hmm.
putting my signs down and I was in where was I? I was not in like the best area.
Yeah.
So, there's people around and this guy pulls up in a bike, no shirt, tats all over, bald. And I just kind of like, ugh, I'm on the corner, right, waiting across the street. And he's all, how you doing? And I said, I'm good. How are you? He said, I'm good. It's a beautiful day. We just started talking. So I'm talking to him all the way across the street. And I'm sure people were like, checking us
Yeah.
out and wondering like what's going on. But we had this nicest conversation. And,
Right.
and even myself, I kind of laughed. I said, I totally prejudged him. If he wouldn't have spoken to me, I wouldn't have spoken to him. But sometimes even just recognizing that people are there and that they're
Mhm.
present and they're not invisible
Right.
can really just make them feel
Right.
seen, right?
And I know it can be scary sometimes, right? But that's something at least with my youngest, because she's more timid.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to tell her, like, you can't be scared of the way they look, whether it's someone who's sleeping out in the streets or whatever. It may be a little scary. You don't know. We can't be judgy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just crack a smile.
Yeah.
Hi, have a good day. Bye. Or, thank you.
I heard a podcast the other day and they were talking about fight and flight and how most people live in fight and flight.
Mm.
And it's only meant for Like if we see a lion, right? We're like, oh my God, lion, we run and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, we're safe now. And that's the way it's supposed to work. But most people live in fear because they've been raised that
Right.
way. Like you have to be afraid to be safe.
Right.
Look over your shoulder, make sure nobody's watching, make sure nobody's following you, don't look at your phone. And so a lot of people do live in just fight or flight because they're just living in fear mode, constantly trying to stay safe.
Right.
And doing so, they tune out a lot of the world and a lot of these people that feel unheard and unseen.
That's true.
So how do you protect yourself now dealing with the people, right? Because I know it's a lot, they come with some stories, man. And I know what I do, but like, what do you do to protect yourself? Like to not get so,
You mean
because
like
a lot of people
emotion,
can't, right? Yeah,
like
they get them.
emotionally?
Yes.
I don't even know how to explain this, and this may sound a little harsh, but to me, everybody has a story. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help this person. It is what it is. I have to move on to the next person or the next, however else I can help. I know it sounds horrible.
No, it
But
doesn't. It's real. It's exactly how I
yeah,
feel. And you do have to turn yourself off. You
yes.
turn on your service mode and you turn off your emotional
It was
mode.
hard though.
Yeah. Well,
I
and it doesn't not
I mean,
affect
it's
you
still,
later,
yeah, it's
right?
still hard. No, yeah, I should say it's still hard. But when I used to work in the emergency department, I was in the emergency
Mm.
department for I think like 13, 14 years. That was tough, and that's where I had to learn to like, okay, did what we can, or they're doing what they can. We gotta help the next one.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, that's like anybody in service. Can you imagine your ambulance driver showing up to you on the side of the
Well, in the
road
beginning, it
crying
was
and
a hard. In the beginning, it was hard. In the beginning,
I
it was
know,
super
it's so
hard.
hard.
I would call my mom, especially when we have patients with overdoses. I remember calling my
because you
mom.
relate. Yeah, on a
Mom,
different level.
do you have a minute? I just need to tell you something. Like, I'm so sorry what I put you through, and it's just like, yeah, like, I'm telling you, my mom's such a sweetheart. Yeah, it's okay. Like, what's wrong? And I'm like, no, it's because this patient just came in. And I start bawling.
Yeah.
She's like, it's okay. She's like, she will literally stay on the phone with me. Like, are you okay now? Okay. Go ahead and go wash your face. Smile. I love you. Get to work. Okay. Okay, mom.
Yeah. But so then you do have that somebody too
Yes.
that you can talk to.
Yes.
That can
Well, she's always been my person to talk to.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That can bring you down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important. We all
Right.
need that person, right? Or a few people. And I think that's why too, like we connect so much, right? And when we go to those events, we connect with everybody because we're all on the same mission.
Right.
And we all know how tough it is and how taxing it could be because you feel like you're giving everything and
Yes.
obviously for nothing, right?
Yeah.
We give everything for
Yeah,
nothing. It's
that's
just
true.
because, and we can't say for nothing though, because it
But,
feels
well,
really good.
no,
right?
yes, it does.
And
It does
you
feel
know you're
good.
doing something
Right.
good for the
But
world.
it's like, it's not like we're getting
Money.
we're not getting money out of it, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah.
Yeah, well, that is a dream, right? Eventually you get some money because that means you're doing something good enough that people recognize and you're able to do more.
Right.
And that's,
Never know. You
yeah.
probably find a donor.
Yeah, well, hey, like I'm working, girl, I'm working on it, all of it, right? Just like you. That's why we go out there and that's why we continue to do and continue to try and
Yes.
continue to change lives. And so what's the dream for your foundation? What is your like goal? Because I know my goal.
My goal, I want to have a staff. I want to have employees where we are very well known in my community to be able to help others, and the ones that we help to be able to give back into the community as well.
Right. So you want to build a full community of givers.
I do.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
We
yes.
will. We
yes.
will.
Yes. Well, you already started.
Yes, we will.
You already started.
Yeah.
So did you have imposter syndrome?
I did.
Which is completely normal.
Yeah.
What thoughts did they call him a drunk monkey, tell yourself, your ego or your, negative thoughts?
Starting the nonprofit.
What did you hear in your head when you decided to start the nonprofit?
Well, it's funny because before even starting the nonprofit, I know what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And I know this sounds funny, okay? I didn't even think of a nonprofit. Um, I think it was I can't remember who it was. They mentioned. Oh, it was
God planted the seed with somebody.
yeah, like why don't you start a nonprofit?
Mhm.
And I'm like, what do you mean? What is that? Like, what do you mean a non?
So you didn't even know what it meant.
So I kind of knew what
Mhm.
nonprofit was, but
Yeah.
now how it runs, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And so I started Googling, I started YouTube videos, ChatGPT, everything you can think of, and
Love it.
just talking to people and talking to people. And I was like, okay, I think I can do this.
Mhm.
I can do this. But then it's like hitting those little things like, well, you need to do this. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what am I kidding? No, I can do it. 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 I'm going to do it. I filed and filed. I mean, even to this day, there's times where I'm like, am I even doing anything? Am I getting anywhere?
Mhm.
Have I made any progress? And then I just start looking back at certain things, certain days, or I go on my Instagram and look at, some of the events. I'm like, no, yeah, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah. You're
Yeah,
making a difference.
yeah.
Look, we all have that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Are we making a difference? Why are we doing what we're doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing this for? What's
Right.
the end game? What
Yeah.
is it ever going to happen,
Yeah.
right? But the reality is I mean, I named my foundation one heart at a time because that's all you can do is help one
One
heart at a
heart at a
time.
time. Yeah.
And you never know who that person's
Mm-hmm.
going to help and then who that person's going to help.
Right.
And our dream, right? Our hope is that we create a ripple effect of a community
Right.
of givers and lovers and people who just want to do more for others
Yeah.
for no personal gain at all, but to
Yeah.
feel good.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's
Right?
true. We want to have a workforce.
Yeah.
We do. So
Yeah.
that's why we started first with the resume building
Mhm.
because I feel like it builds a lot of confidence in people.
I think any training builds confidence in people
Mm-hmm. Or
because
at least
any
it's a starting point as well because you can go to a training, right? You can go
yeah.
to a training, but how do you put your resume together? How do you go search or sit there and talk to someone?
Well, that's why I'm saying any
Yeah.
training is
Yeah.
confidence building
Mm-hmm.
because you learn. You
Right.
learn one more, it's like one more brick to the wall.
Yes.
Right? One more brick to that or the staircase.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's true.
And
That's very
yeah, and
true.
I mean, I've been self-taught. I've taught myself so many things, and that's why I think it's really like difficult for me when people say I don't know how. It's like if you want to know how, you'll learn how. We live in the freaking era of information. If you don't know
Yes.
how, it's because you choose to stay ignorant.
Right.
I mean, shit, just get on ChatGPT. She will tell you how to do anything and then what else she can tell to help you do.
True. I just feel like though there's still some people. Well, I feel like there's still a big group of people, or numbers of individuals that still don't know technology, even
But
though.
it's a choice
Yeah.
because there's classes everywhere. I see on Instagram every day we're starting a new class for AI for 50 and over. All the time. There's community courses at the colleges. They have classes at the libraries. The chamber gives
So
classes.
I mean, I thought about that, and I'm not to go against what you're saying, but
Yeah.
because like from my kids' school, we do updates on Instagram. Please follow us, and I'm like, well, what do you do with the parents' families that don't have Instagram, don't know how to get into Instagram? And
They do
someone said,
email too, right? My
I
sons
believe,
email. They
I believe
email.
so, and
But,
then
I mean,
yeah, and I some had said the same thing, like, well, the adults going, okay, where are they announcing that they're having that type of class on Instagram? This family still doesn't have. What if
yeah.
they still don't have, like, whether it's a tablet? So how do they even know that they can go to the adults go and get the training? You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's still a small gap to some.
Well, but that's what we're here for too, though.
Yeah.
That's why we have the mental health events
Hmm.
and, all the other events but I
That's why I
mean
love the resource days.
but at some point, people have to take
Right.
responsibility. If
Yes.
everything's on Instagram, then figure it out and get an Instagram.
Right.
I mean, you have a phone.
Yeah,
That's just
that's
it.
true.
Everybody
No,
has a
phone,
phone.
yes. because they even have those free phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you can figure it out.
Right.
So ignorance is a choice.
Yeah.
It is. It's not like they live on an island and stuff. Like when
Right.
people
No,
say,
yeah,
like, what
yeah, yeah.
about like if God can get to the jungle and,
Yes.
that type of thing. I mean, there is obviously always an exception to
Right.
the rule. But for the most part, for the majority of people living in today's day, I mean, come on, I'm 54. I figured it out. Like you could figure it out. You have
Yeah.
kids, nieces, nephews, I mean,
Right.
ask a question,
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
but again, that's what we're here for.
To
To
help
to help and to
and
get to
give the
those people who
resources.
maybe
Yes.
don't speak the language, or because there's a lot of people too that don't speak the language.
Right.
Even though sometimes I feel like more people speak Spanish than English now. It's like annoying because I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah. And to me, that's a good feeling, though. Like, that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
didn't know, and I was able to at least
Guide you or
yes,
help.
or connect you,
Mm-hmm.
or you to me, okay, I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
you kind of did your job for the
Mhm.
day. Yeah,
Yeah.
you helped someone build their confidence
Right.
and that's my thing. Like, I guess because, I mean, I didn't go to college.
Me either.
So I used to be down on myself a lot for not having a degree, right? And so now I'm just like, I respect them wholeheartedly if you have a
Yes.
degree because I know what it takes to get it. But I'm like, you don't even need it anymore with, the way the world's going.
You don't need it, but a lot of places are asking for degrees. So
It's changing too.
I was
That's
down
changing too.
many, many years. Oh my God. Like, I would see my friends, relatives going to taking college classes, even one at a time. And I'm one that, no, I don't want to do one at a time. Just give it to me
Oh
all and I want to
no,
do it.
yeah.
Right. But then I get overwhelmed and I don't want to do it
Right.
anymore. So I attempted to take some classes here and there. Didn't work out. I didn't even finish the semester. Or if I did, it was just
Well,
here and
that's why I
there.
said I know what it takes and I respect them wholeheartedly
Yes, yes.
because it's work.
Yeah.
It's
And
a full-time job
that's
for a lot
why
of
I
these
wanted
degrees.
to go to school and get a degree.
Yeah.
For that reason. But for a long time I was like, I'm too old. Like, people are like straight out of high school going to take college classes. And here I am when I was in my 20s and then 30s and now 40s. And now I'm like, no, I'm going to give it a shot. And I did, but it still didn't work out.
But
So
this
that's why I'm like,
time,
I'm not going to
again,
try it. I'm not going to try it. I'm okay with not having a degree. It doesn't make me
it doesn't
any of a
define you.
less person,
No.
nothing. So I'm like, no.
So you missed my last guest. My last guest is in her 50s and she just got her doctorate.
Ooh.
And she had that same feeling you did, right? She's always been, a study bug. She loved school. But she had the thought process that she was too old until her class, an 80-year-old woman stood up and she was there for her degree,
Oh, wow.
her doctorate. So she
Yeah.
was like, if this lady could be here, like, I need to
Yes.
shut up. Like, I am not
Yes.
too old.
Yes.
So I'm here to tell you, you're not too old.
No.
And one class at a time is the way a lot of people get through college because it doesn't matter how old you are when you
Right.
complete it. because
Yeah,
you're
well, I
completing
got
for
over it,
you,
right? But so that's why now I'm like over. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna go to school. I'm sticking to what I'm doing right
Yeah.
now. But yeah,
The online courses work for me. I really,
sometimes they do for me, sometimes they don't, because
Yeah.
I like to talk. I like to ask the questions. Like, wait, hold on,
yeah.
can't do that online.
No, but they do have the chat groups and
Yeah.
stuff. So, you just have to
Mm.
figure out how to make it work for you.
I
But
want,
again, right, you have to,
right.
it's
I
something
want
you have to
online
reward.
when it's convenient for me, and I want to be in person when I need to go in person. That's what I want.
You're like, forget it. Maybe that's why it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah.
next for you?
I mean, I'm working on a few things, so right now just focus on faith and power.
Yeah.
Children. I have a few things that I'm in the works,
Yeah.
and I'm not hoping it because it's gonna happen. Things are gonna come out good.
Yes.
I want to be able to give my kids something.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I've mentioned it to them before as a joke. Like, when I get older, if you guys don't take care of me, I'm not putting you guys on my will. They're like, you don't have anything on me. Like, we laugh, but I will.
Yes,
So
you
they
will.
better take care of me. They better take care of me when I get old.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure having you. You know,
I'm
I
so
always
happy that
I
you have me
always
here.
ask my guests to like if they have any words. But you know what? Let me ask you this. When you were getting through, like right, you're growing, you're learning. What did you do? You said you did a lot of YouTubes. Did you do anything for you, for your soul? Did you get a coach? Did you read any books? Did you watch any specific YouTubes or like to
Um,
to heal? Did you feel you had healing to do, or you kind of feel like you had already done that kind of
I mean, I say I'm still healing. Even before, remember taking my kids to church. We didn't do it for a long time, but I would take them. I've always had faith.
Mhm.
Um, and it's something, even my mom, my grandparents. So it's not like we don't know about it,
Right.
or but we weren't going to church, or
Right.
I wasn't taking my kids to church. I wasn't going either. Just recently, I went back into going to church. Um, that has helped me out a
So
lot.
God,
Yes,
your
yes,
connection with God
mm-hmm.
kind of kept you straight
Yes.
and grounded.
You know, a few things that happening in life. Just life, and just remember like crying and praying and crying and praying, and things would get better. And I'm like, I know it's God. Like, I
Mhm.
have to get my butt to church. Like, I
Mhm.
need to go. Why am I not going? I
Yeah.
was reading Bible verses. I was looking them up, or I went a few times to like they're like Bible studies.
Mhm.
But I wasn't going to church.
Yeah.
I would connect with certain friends and like vent, like I can't take this, or things would start getting overwhelmed. Do you want to pray? Please, let's pray. But I wasn't going to church.
Mm.
You know, now I am.
The consistency.
Now I am. And it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be your thing.
Slowly, I'm trying to get my kids to go with me.
Me too, girl. It's a
Yeah.
process.
Yes, I know. I know. Yeah.
So if you could give anyone out there any advice, who would it be and what would the advice be? Would it be to the parents? Would it be to anybody maybe starting a foundation? Would it be to the young you?
Man, it would be to anybody struggling. And it doesn't matter what you're struggling with, you know? Just have faith, go to church, pray,
Believe.
believe, believe in yourself. And just know that if you don't show up for yourself, no one else will.
Amen to that, sister.
Yeah.
Because we do, huh?
Yeah,
And it's a lot of work.
it
I
is.
don't think people realize how much work having a foundation is.
I mean, either way, right? Like, even if you're willing to show up for me,
Yeah.
when someone does something for you, don't you always find yourself like, oh, that's not how I wanted it, or that's not. There you go, trying to fix
Yeah.
it, or yeah. So you have to show up for yourself.
Yes. Yes. It's
Mhm.
funny. I'm in Toastmasters and I did a speech yesterday. I won. Oh.
Oh yeah.
But it was cute because I told the other speaker, I said, I usually vote for myself. I said, but today I voted for you. And she's like, you did? And then they're like, you vote for yourself? You know what I said? I used to never vote for myself. I said, but if I don't vote for me, then,
That's
it's
true.
like I need
Yes.
you. We need to vote for ourselves. We need to
Yes.
show up for ourselves.
That's true.
Like if
I
we don't
agree.
believe we're doing it
Yeah.
to vote for ourselves, then
Yeah.
hey, we got a problem. So,
That's very true.
oh, well, it's been wonderful having
Thank
you.
you.
I'm
No, thank
so
you for
glad you
having me here.
came, Rachel. And it was wonderful to see your kids. We did show
Babies.
them. You didn't see them, but
My brothers, my
Solomon
mom.
showed them off to everybody. And yeah, so keep doing what you're doing,
Thank
girl.
you.
And we'll
Thank
be
you.
seeing you
Of
around because
course.
we'll be hanging out in the same circles for sure. And
Yes.
we'll see what
We
happens
need more
next.
people like us.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for coming, guys. It's been a pleasure having you. I love it when you come back for more. And you know what? We are working on more educational guests. So I'm trying to find a neuroscientist for you guys. We're going to get into the brain next. So keep coming back for some education and some great stories like Rachel's and some inspiration. Bye.